Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we talk with business leaders from all over the world who share their expertise so we can all grow together. I'm excited to be talking with my guest today, and I'm going to share you with her in just a moment. I just wanted to say welcome to the podcast. If you're new with us, welcome, and please stick around because we have a gift for you. I'm your host, Heidi, and we help businesses grow their revenue through custom, outside the box visibility strategies. And without further ado, I'm excited to be talking about marketing, visibility, and the business of Innate Motion with my special guest, Joyshree Reinelt. Welcome, Joyshree, to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Heidi. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here with you. So can you kick us off and let us know, tell us a little bit about you, your company, and the role that you play within it?
Yes, happy to. So I'm a business humanizer at Innate Motion, and we founded our company 18 years ago with the mission to humanize business for more meaningful growth. And at the time, we had the observation that oftentimes you apply too much human logic to too much business logic to humans, whereas we want to apply more human logic to business. So when we set out, I would say we were very much pioneering in the field. So my co-founders and I were living in different countries at the time. So I was in Germany, I had a partner in Italy, another one in France, and another one in Thailand. Most of us, so we knew each other from our previous company, and we thought it was the right time to set out on a new adventure and really bringing a human-centric view to business. And the other thing we thought is, how do we call ourselves? So we didn't want to call ourselves consultants or counselors or brand strategists, but we really wanted to be business humanizers. So that was an identity or an aspirational identity that we felt very powerful and that also said what we do. We humanize business.
Yeah, you're definitely 18 years ago is definitely before. I mean, you hear about humanizing business now a little more with AI, but back in 18 years ago, especially with you being in different places across the world, launching this business, you definitely, I'm sure, have a lot of challenges that you all overcome, a lot of great stories that you could share. And now, yes, you're now not, you were the pioneers then. Now you're truly the experts now. When there's some companies just trying to get that going, you've already been doing it for 18 years and sharing with businesses. So yeah, I'm really excited about this conversation. So Innate Motion talks about building brands with a purpose. So how do you help companies move from being a profit-driven company to truly purpose-led?
I love this question. So it's really about putting humans first. So we feel that business doesn't, or profit doesn't need to be at odds with purpose. And I feel in the old paradigm, it was either being purposeful or profit oriented, and you couldn't have both. We actually reimagined a scenario where you could do both. You could use business as a force for good, and you could be profitable without losing out on purpose. And the way we did that is really with human-centric design and to basically move from transactional marketing or ways of relationship building to relationship building. So many of our clients or big companies, and that's how marketing school taught us, we're talking about target groups and audiences, right? And the way you define target groups is very specific on sociodemographics, on consumption behaviors, on how often your brand is bought. Are you loyal? Are you not loyal? Are you regular? And they're also often diminished, the consumers or the users, to consumption units, right? Because you say, well, they drink X liters of my beverage, or they buy X amounts of my products. That's why they are regular or frequent users. But what we do with our clients is basically to shift them to a human perspective and to ask the question, who are the people that you serve? So rather than making them into consumption units, it's about understanding who are the people that we're serving and what's the role that we as a brand, as a product, and as a category can play in the lives of people.
Mm. Why is it important now more than ever for businesses to humanize their brands? And what does that really mean in practice?
So, what we truly believe in is that brands are leadership tools and not just a vehicle to sell more products. So, if we help humanize brands, we help brands to come up with an identity narrative that also connects to the aspired identity of the people that we want to serve.
Mm.
So, rather than talking about the USPs and the rationale of I'm bigger, better, stronger, bigger, harder than you are. It is more about finding out what are those soft points of connection. How is it that you can truly engage with people and play a truly relevant roles in their life? So if you take in a stance that doesn't start with category or product, but that starts more humbly from understanding who are these people that we're serving and what is our right of existence and how can we help play a role in their lives, that's the shift that we push forward.
So let's talk about like the empathy, because I know when it comes to humanizing, that's a big piece of it. So what is the role of empathy and being human in business?
I love that question because when we started talking about empathy, people used to look at us like, really?
Yeah.
Like, does this belong into the business room or business conversation? But we believe that empathy is fierce and it's an active force that unleashes us to be more human and to build those deeper relationships. So, empathy is one of the key ingredients, and we truly believe that empathy is a human superpower. And it's also what makes the difference between good brands and great brands or any type of relationship. Because if I can empathize with you and truly understand and what moves you, and I can put myself into your shoes, that's when magic basically happens.
Mhm.
So for us, empathy is not a soft skill, which many people think it is. It's actually a hard skill. And we truly believe that you can train empathy. So, with many companies or teams in companies, we do empathy trainings because we actually tell them, look, what does it take to be empathetic? And it's so innately human empathy. It's just that sometimes we forget or we are told to leave our hearts at home and
Right.
to only come with head to the work.
Yeah, and I can see how that would be really an important skill to have, especially if you want to stand out in a crowded market. So people talk about different ways of standing out, and I don't hear much about empathy, even today, even though people talk about a little more than they did 18 years ago when you started, but we still don't hear about it enough. And I think that also one thing I do hear is the importance of culture within a company.
Mhm.
And I can see how empathy with your employees, with your team is just as important that it starts on the inside so that it's emulated on the outside. And when customers have a choice on who to work with, they want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to feel like they can truly trust the people. And if they're coming at it as a transaction versus as a relationship, like you were sharing earlier, they're not going to feel that, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And that is also one of the pillars of innate motion. So we believe that human growth fuels business growth. So there is no business growth without human growth. So that's where our human-centric approach comes in. And we help companies on our first pillar with market growth. So this is all about decoding deep insights to scope opportunities for new markets, new target groups, and new propositions. Then we have brand growth, where we were the pioneers of basically defining purpose as part of your brand proposition. And purpose for us is not a poster child. I mean, not a nice statement that you put on a poster and then you forget about it. Purpose needs to be connected to KPIs so that you can have a measurable impact or that you can see what are the measures of impact and how are you moving the needle forward. And the third pillar at Innate Motion is organizational growth. So exactly what you say. If you want to live it in an authentic and genuine way, then the culture inside needs to live, breathe, and feel it so that you can actually communicate it to the outside in a credible way.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you share, Joy, what you mean when you talk about the power of identity? What is that?
So for us, brands, I mean, people are all about identity and brands are also about identity. And when we're talking about identity, we also talk about the aspirational identity. So for us, the aspirational identity was to humanize business, which is why we called ourselves business humanizers. At the time, people didn't know what to do with the term 18 years ago. So it was a good conversation starter as well. Like, oh, interesting. You're business humanizers. What is that? Right. And then we had to say what we do, but it was a great way of opening. But we said that's what we wanted to be. We didn't want to be the transactional consultants that come in with a lot of data and expertise. Yes, we consult companies, but we wanted that human-centric approach. When we work with brands, we also say, what's that aspirational identity of a brand? What's the identity narrative that we can help co-create for a brand? Because at the end of the day, if you stay on the rational level of your proposition, of your product features, of your claims, your reasons to believe, you can be easily copied by others because innovation and this fierce market competitiveness is very, very fast. So whatever you come up with, you can be quite sure that another company will copy you in a couple of months or maybe in 1 or 2 years if they need to research more on it. However, if you can build an identity story that people tap into, that's where you build deeper relationships. And that's where you stay very unique and authentic. And we hear a lot about brands wanting to be authentic today. There's a lot of purpose washing, greenwashing, brand canceling, which happens very fast. But from that perspective, having a clear identity also gives you the guardrails of what to do and what not to do. And that obviously needs to be tied very closely to the purpose of a brand or of a company.
So you work across diverse markets and cultures. How does culture intelligence shape the work Innate Motion does with your clients?
Love that question. So, as I said, we founded Innate Motion already with the diverse background of people. So, I was born and raised in Germany, but I have Indian roots and I went to American kindergarten and primary school. So, I've already grown up with a lot of cultures. Then, Christophe, he was a Belgian South African living in Paris. Femke, a Dutch living in Italy, and Benoit, a Frenchman living in Thailand. So, and most of us also married a partner from another country,
Oh,
which
wow.
wasn't by design, but I would say it's just innately who we are, right?
Yeah.
And speaking several languages. So we have a sensitivity of cultures that's already ingrained into our, say, biographies. And when we started Innate Motion, we said, look, our identity is around bees. So no bricks. So at the time, we didn't have any offices, no borders. So we had the audacity to say we want to be the smallest global company in the world. And that's how we also started working. And also no bosses. So we are very flat in hierarchy. And then later on, we also became a B Corp. So B Corp is also our commitment to use business as a force for good and to be purposeful in what we do. So when we work with clients, I would say we work a lot with the big multinationals, which doesn't exclude us from working with local, smaller companies or startups that really want to make a difference in the world. But the bulk of our business are multinationals because we have that cultural sensitivity. So within Innate Motion now, we are about 45 to 50 people. We have around 20 cultures and 27 languages spoken across us. And
Wow.
I think that's when you're talking specifically in the US these days, but even outside of the US about DE&I, we just live and breathe it. It's part of our DNA right since the start.
Right.
So when we have projects of different cultural natures where we're having Europe, Asia, Africa, we also bring on diverse teams. And usually what we do is we bring in people who are from the culture with people who are not from the culture. Because if you are from the culture, that's how you've been primed and you've grown up in that culture. So some of the things you just take for granted and you don't even see where the tension might be. Whereas someone who's not from the culture might see it more easily because you have a curious mind and you think, wow, that's different than what I heard, right? Or the beliefs that I've been raised with. And that's where we then basically come to propositions that are culturally relevant because we hear all of the different voices. And that's again where empathy comes into play. Empathy is a key factor in not judging other people, but to say, can I have a real conversation with you and truly understand who you are? So also for empathy, we say there are certain principles. And the first principle is overcoming the bias trap because we're all biased one way or the other. We see someone and we think, oh, she's a woman, so she's so and so, or he's a man, so he's so and so, or a young person or old person or from a culture. But we really need to overcome those bias traps, no matter how culturally open we are. We all have those bias traps and we need to make them conscious. The other thing that we tell each other and also clients is you need to be truly curious. And when are we truly curious? Like really ask questions that go deeper of who that other person is, which is really important. And then thirdly, also give that room and that space to develop trust and to listen and to really listen. And I feel in today's world, there's so much of talking and very little listening that
Yeah.
it's truly an art to teach again, to not just actively listen, but truly listen and also hear what's not said between the lines.
Yeah, everything you said was just amazing. And I agree with you. So many people listen to speak. They're not listening. They're thinking while they're listening of what's the next thing I'm going to ask or what's the next thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
When we need to start leaning into trusting that we're going to have the response as long as we're fully listening, because they could say something at the end that we could have dove deeper on or that we
Right.
would have really loved to learn more about, but we didn't even hear it because we heard something earlier that we're still focused on. And that's creating relationship. It's not transactional. I think when it comes to transactions, what do I say next? Or what am I going to ask them next? Because you're so focused on getting we're so focused on getting this specific result that
Yes.
that's the target versus really being present and trusting that it's all going to lay out. And by building those relationships, you may not get the result as fast, but it's going to be longer term. If your goal is a sale, it's going to be a longer term relationship in the end versus just getting that quick sale and then they leave you down right? Am I correct
Yeah.
there? Are you seeing that with
Yes.
clients you're working with? Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Like I love that you said that because one thing about this podcast, and I have another podcast, and it's been great for me because I don't like questions being sent to me, like 10 questions being sent to me ahead of time. So I let them, like I shared with you, like if somebody has a couple questions, I'm all for it because it helps me. But
Right.
for somebody to send me 10, 20 questions, I don't enjoy it as much because I'm so focused on that question that I need to ask them versus the conversational flow. And I can't be fully present and listening. Whereas if I have a guide, then I'm like, okay, and I can pull from, like just now, this wasn't part of what we were going to talk about in my mind ahead of time, but you shared it. I love it. And I'm like, let's go deeper on it. I agree. I think it's just so important that we do this. So for you listening, if this is a key gold nugget. I mean, Joy has dropped so many gold nuggets, but listening, the more you practice and hone in your listening skills, the further you're going to get and the more successful you're going to get in all areas of your life, which is relationships. That's a big key place where I needed to learn how to listen more, and I'm still learning and navigating that. Business, it's key if you're wanting to create clients and grow your revenue with whether it's internally with your internal culture or with it's outside with your clients. Listening is going to get you whatever dreams and goals you have. If you hone in that skill, I truly believe you're further than so many other people out there. Yeah. Could we pivot a little to growth, Joy? Being that this is a growth podcast, I would love to learn and let our audience, our listeners, learn from your what you've experienced. You've had 18 years behind you, but under your belt, which is fantastic. So, can you share some of the challenges you and your partners have gone through, and how you've overcome them over your journey?
Yes, I'd love to. So I think when we founded Innate Motion, we were like can we even survive like the first 3 years? So if you make the first 3 years, then you know it's not just a dream. And I would have said at that time it was really taking a leap of faith, right? Like there is uncertainty and you don't know whether it's gonna, how it's gonna work out, what's gonna work out. But I would say we as people totally trusted in each other. So again, that human relationship is important. So is it an adventure that you really want to do together, right? Because it's quite a high risk. All of us had like steady, good jobs, and then you take this leap of faith to say we're going to start something new. Secondly, I feel it is having that purpose. So the purpose for Innate Motion of humanizing business for more meaningful growth was something that we also carved out right at the start. And having that purpose also serves as guardrails to say this is in and this is out. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're not going to do. So it is also about having that shared vision so that you can walk with shared intent into shared action. The other thing I would say about growth is be open to learn. And I can say it was a roller coaster ride. And we were very lucky and fortunate to have clients that believed in us right from the start. So I do think you always need people who wish you well. And if you have that emotional story to say, and you say it in a personal way, and how it's part of your purpose, and what is the impact, the positive impact that you want to create in the world, what's your right of existence, and how do you think you can make the world a better place, people will happily support you if they can buy in on that purpose and on that identity, right? If it's fueling their identity, because basically you invest with part of your identity in someone else's identity. And that's basically what happened. So important as well. And the other one is definitely learning. I mean, there will be setbacks, and we knew there would be setbacks. We hadn't figured everything out, whether it is how do we operate or the business model or yeah, how do you pull off certain things? You don't know until you're there. But then it's every time about leaning in also into the painful moments and then having honest and serious discussions around what did we learn from this, right? I mean, was this just a one-time mistake or circumstance out of our hands? Or can we really do things differently because we've learned from it? And there's one exercise that you might know, Heidi, which is called the Marshmallow Challenge. It's from MIT, and we use it in a lot of our workshops in the past. So it's not from us, but the Marshmallow Challenge brings people together, and you get like a little rope and you get a couple of spaghettis and marshmallows, and you should build a tower. And the team that builds the highest tower that also stands for the longest time wins the prize.
Wow.
And so, as I said, this is from MIT, but it's really interesting. And now, guess who is good at Marshmallow Challenge? So, they did it with many groups of people, and turns out that kindergarten kids are the best,
Uh,
right? So, they are better than the kindergarten teachers. And if you take it to the corporate environment, it's the junior people who are better than the VPs and the CEOs.
wow.
And that's really interesting. And why is it? Because the more knowledgeable you become and the more you become an expert, the more you want to plan and you use your brain for perfection.
Mm.
So, what we see in the Marshmallow Challenge is that those who are more curious, less experienced, they have a fast trial and error prototyping. So they're just going to build it and it falls and it collapses, and then they do the next build and the next build.
Mm.
And guess what? That brings them to success
Yeah.
versus those that are just like making a plan the whole time and then they build it and it falls together and they're like, oh, what do we do now? So that Marshmallow Challenge, sometimes we were also pulled and we need to have it all figured out. But I would say we had the courage and the belief to do mistakes as well, to say, let's go on the journey, because if we don't do it, we won't find out what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, you have to be able to do different iterations of every single thing you want, and you have to be able to take action. I love that marshmallow challenge story, because I can see how that would slow down, because you're right, as people move up the ladder and move up the chain, they become more analytical. Okay, let's plan versus let's take action, and then let's do a new iteration of it. See what worked out of that, what didn't work. Let's push off what didn't work, and let's build upon that and try something, keep what's working and then try something new, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other part that I would want to mention is to truly embrace your own vulnerability. So I don't think I've ever felt as vulnerable as when building Innate Motion, but
Mhm.
I think it was a sign of strength and not of weakness. Well, first of all, you can be vulnerable with people who you trust, obviously, but it's also important to talk about what are your fears? What keeps you up at night? You know, what are you anxious about? But also what makes you happy? But we are all trained and we aspire to be these outliers and super performers and to be top of the class or the best agency or whatever it is. But again, you won't get there if you don't address those fears and anxieties as well. So you also need to be able to cope with that in a healthy manner and to be able to share it. And often that sharing is also breaking down those silos.
Yeah. I was listening to, I think it was Simon Sinek this morning, and he was saying that you really need to reach out for support and help and receive, because trying to do things alone just doesn't work. We can, and that's not the way that you're going to grow, whether it's personally or professionally. You always need to ask for help, be open, be vulnerable, share what you're going through. And it's not easy for people. But especially in today's day and age, with a lot of fear, people have a lot of fear. We need to be open and not judgy either when people come to us and they share with us. We have to be open to listen, and then open to show support, and they get to be open to receiving, and vice versa. So I'm so glad that you shared that. When it comes to your growth, obviously we need revenue to keep the doors open, and you basically shared, like, if we made it through the first 3 years, we knew we were onto something and we moved through it. And I'm sure there's always hurdles that you're jumping, new challenges show up. That's the one thing we can count on during growth, is that we're going to have, as we're growing, new challenges are going to show up. So how are you, as far as your visibility, your marketing? There's many different methods out there, many different ways to get in front of your companies, your ideal clients. How are you doing it? What's been working for you lately? And then we'll go into what hasn't worked for you.
Right. I would say one is embrace change because, as you say, change is a constant, right? So you're never, we're never long enough in the comfort zone because then something else happens, right? And I think that's how we also started with market growth, brand growth, and organizational growth. So it was an organic process of saying which are the other realms of business where we can play a role and where we can build thought leadership. So that's the other part of growth. We always want to build thought leadership. So there's like a signature way of thinking that shows this is innate motion. It's the business humanizing way of thinking. So for us, again, this goes back to the power of identity, that whatever leaves innate motion feels innate motion. And what I mean by that is that thought leadership aspect and that there's some consistency. Having said that, if you meet us as personalities, we're quite different. And that's also the richness of being human, that we're different people, and that's part of our strength. But there's an essence in our brand and thinking that helps us to grow. And that's this systematic way of looking at things that clients also like, right? Because it is recognizable. And when they're with us on a journey, we call our clients fellow travelers because we feel that we're on a journey with them. So when our fellow travelers go from one company to the other company or they onboard new teams, there's always that recognizability in our tools and our frameworks that we use. So that is very important to us as well. And then I would say agility in today's world. I mean, again, you never know what's happening next. So for us, it's also about being lean, being nimble, um, listening. And again, it's a listening skill. So we are constantly 24/7 listening to people,
Mm.
right? The people we work with. So for us, it's also important to listen to the hardships that our clients are going through. It's not like they cut budgets because they want to cut budgets. They also have a internal reality to face. So when we understand what's that internal reality they're facing, why are things now pushing more towards short term than long term? Because if you work on purpose, if you work on positive impact, you need to be in for the long haul and not for the quick wins, right? But you need to, again, build empathy with those different stakeholders within an ecosystem. So again, we listen a lot to the people that we work with. We look at how markets and cultures are changing. And there's a time for everything. Like when we started, nobody spoke about purpose or humanizing business.
Mm.
Then everyone spoke about it. Then you had a backlash, but we're still there and we still believe in it. So I think that's another really important skill.
So, what is your goal for Innate Motion over the next 12 months? Your big goals?
We want to stay as global and culturally diverse as we can. We love to continue working on projects with people in companies that want to do an impact and a positive impact, right, on people of society. And we want to grow beyond marketing. So our reputation is largely in marketing and how we've transformed marketing. Since the last couple of years, we work a lot on organizational change, team identities, and how do you make it happen internally. And I think that's our big goal for the next 12 months to also set our visibility in that last approach.
Mm. So when it comes to say lead gen, because we always, it's important we have a pipeline of, for most companies, it's important they have a pipeline of potential new clients. So how are you creating that lead generation for you all with Innate Motion?
That's a good question. And I think we were never good at it because identity-wise, we never saw ourselves as salespeople,
Mm.
right? And the other thing is that we're like it's sad and it's good. It's both, but we feel like we're the best kept secret in the world. So
Mm.
whilst we're this boutique small agency, most of our clients have come through relationships, those fellow travelers,
Mm.
and us growing senior with them. So we have a lot of people on either VP or C-suite level where you have high visibility projects, right, within an organization. And that's how lead generation happens. But we're also aware of the fact that we need to do it in other ways than just relying on this word of mouth, face to face kind of activities.
Mm.
So now you will see that Innate Motion also has a podcast, a webinar series, much more things to build reputation and visibility. Um, there's a book by Christophe Fauconnier and Andrea Venacker, The Human Growth Code. So that also goes into the diagnostic of organizations. So again, yeah, it's thought leadership and being more out there than
Yeah,
we were in the past.
fantastic. So if we could revisit this conversation in a year, Joy, and bring you back, what does success look like for you?
I'd love to continue doing what we're doing in terms of impact, because if you're looking at a lot of companies these days, but also the political um, era, right? It is going back to short term, to being territorial. There's a lot of polarization happening across the world and the business world. And I'd love to see us still going strong and still growing, which we have been lucky that we've always been growing year on year, even through the pandemic. We haven't grown, but we stayed stable. So we are ahead of, say, our competitors in the industry.
Mm.
And for me, in 1 year, I'd love to look at our projects to say we've done passion projects that are really purpose led, where we humanize business. and we didn't have to do projects to, what should I say, bring the money in, but that we don't fully believe in.
I love that. So can you share with us, Joy, for our listeners, how can people connect with you and learn more about Innate Motion?
So you can personally connect to me. You can also go to our website, which is innatemotion.com. We're also on LinkedIn. So any way that is convenient for you, I'm happy to chat.
Amazing. Please reach out to Joy. She's a wonderful, you've heard her here. You've been listening to her. She's amazing. Learn more about Innate Motion. You can go to innatemotion.com. We also have all of Joy's and the company's links on here in the show notes. So you can go there and grab those as well. Joy, what is the name of your podcast?
Humanizing business in the age of empathy.
Perfect. Go check out the podcast too. You definitely want to take a listen there and learn more. So, Joy, thank you so much for this. This has been amazing. Is there anything that you'd like to share before we wrap up that I didn't ask you or touch on with you today?
Right. So, as I said, we were this really small business when we started, and we're still this boutique agency. But being the best kept secret still made us work with with the largest companies in the world. So
Mm.
we worked with Unilever, where we did the whole transformation process on crafting brands for life. We worked with the Coca-Cola company. We worked with Danone. We worked with Visa. So whatever Forbes 500 companies you can imagine, we've worked with most of them across industries, which makes us immensely proud
Yeah.
that being small and mighty, we can work with those most powerful companies to really shift the needle using business as a force for good.
That's fantastic. So thank you. Yes, thank you for sharing that. That was important. So for you listening, make sure you go connect with Joy. She's on LinkedIn. Again, go to the links in that we have for you in the show notes. Go check out the podcast and go to innatemotion.com. That's INNATE motion.com. Thank you, Joy, for being here today. Thank you for listening to Joy and I. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button so you are notified when we have more amazing guests like Joy here today, sharing their expertise, helping you, sharing their insights and expertise to help you grow. Also, leave a comment for Joy. Share this episode with someone that you know would benefit or could learn more about Joy and Innate Motion to help them in their creating more empathy in their business so they can grow and scale. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, like Amazon, Apple, Spotify, or any of the other ones, and you can leave a review, we would greatly appreciate it. 5 stars would be awesome. Please do so and leave us a comment so we can reach more people to share Joy, her company, as well as our guests to more people to help more businesses. We want businesses to succeed in 2025. We want to see more entrepreneurs, more companies grow and succeeding versus not growing and failing. We want them. So in order to do that, in order to reach our mission, we need to reach more people. I promised you a gift for those of you who are been with us and you haven't grabbed it yet, or if you're new to the podcast, again, welcome. You can go grab your Spotlight to Scale blueprint. So if you're looking for more visibility and outside the box ideas, I know you know the ones that, the social media, the things that maybe you feel like you're just kind of drowning amongst the crowd there. Go grab your Spotlight to Scale blueprint. It's free. You can go to spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint to grab that. Joy, thank you again for being here. I so appreciate your time. It's been such a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. And it was a true pleasure for me too that I could share my story and the one of Innate Motion. Thank you
Uh,
so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. Again, go to innatemotion.com, connect with Joy, and we will see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight.